Hi all, this is Skate, and this is the Tier 6 Type 64, the Chinese light tank. Earlier on, I released a video about the Chieftain T95, a tank I said will be available in the Blitz Fair. This will be exactly the same. This tank is and will be available when the Blitz Fair goes live, along with a couple of other fun ones, like the IS-3 Defender is going to become available again, and the M60. Yep, they're giving away M60 in the Blitz Fair. Now don't get me wrong, I imagine it's going to be incredibly difficult to get hold of, and if you're going to throw money at it, I imagine it's going to be quite expensive. At the time of making this video, we contributors have no idea the ins and outs of what Blitz Fair is going to be yet. So it's kind of an apprehensive thing, because personally I really want that Chieftain. I just don't want to pull my pants down to get it, so I'm really hoping it's not going to be overpriced. Because I do really want that Chieftain 95. Don't get me wrong, it's not a Chieftain Mark 6 at tier 10, but by all accounts that potentially is coming next year anyway. But I do want that tank an awful lot. I'm going to shut up about that tank for now though, and we're going to have a look at the Type 64. So what's it like? Well, I like it, it's fun, but there's a but, and there is a big but. Actually, quickly, just watch my tank get caught on the floor. How does that even happen? Yeah, there is a but, and that's I don't feel it brings anything to the table whatsoever, which so many other tanks at tier 6 can do, and better. I mean, looking at the positives, this tank, its mobility is fantastic. It can get up to high speeds very quickly, and its traverse is absolutely insane. The traverse speed on this, I mean, it beats every other light tank, hands down. It's blisteringly fast at traversing. So you can turn very fast at high speed, very comfortably while maintaining your speed. I was happy with that, and in terms of, well, armour, it's a light tank. It doesn't really have any. And neither do all light tanks, really, in the grand scheme of it. However, this one has the worst armour of any of the tier 6 light tanks. MT25's got 45 on the front. VK2801, 60. T21's got 29. T37's got the same 25, sorry. So it's got the worst. So where you can occasionally get some funny bounces with the other light tanks, VK especially, you're not going to with this. And it's not exactly a ridiculously small light tank. Now when I remember playing console, there was a lot of these little buggers about. And you know what? It felt so much smaller. I don't know if it's the model size in Blitz. I genuinely don't know, or if it's just me losing the plot. Both are probable. But it just feels big. It shouldn't feel this big. It should feel smaller. But yeah, the armor, I mean, we need to watch out for that stuff happening. You're open top with really bad armor. I gotta give it to the KV2. Hell of a shot. Just like the T49 in the previous one. And then onto the gun. This is where things get a little bit frustrating for me. It has the worst penetration, not by a great margin, however it is still the worst, with 125. And with a 0.335 accuracy, it becomes very frustrating. Now, the T21 and the T37, just to give you a comparative, have 0.34, so theirs is worse in terms of dispersion. However, their aim time is better, so it balances. The MT25s, the VK2801, they both have better gun dispersions and a slightly worse aim time. With this thing though, it just... I don't know if it's just me, but this gun has really trolled me. I get some really stupid bounces with it. So a pen buff is something I think this thing is probably in serious need on. Yeah, that was the flat side of a VK, I believe. And you're going to see a lot more random bounces like that. Because with this thing, you kind of really do want to play it at range. I like to run in close, spot, and then run out to range and try and unload again. It's also got 8 degrees of gun depression, by the way. I think obviously a key point, and 25 degrees of gun elevation, which is really, really impressive high. But then again, as soon as you do that, you're showing them the inside of your tank, and then they can just fire a HE straight down that hatch. See the back of that VK? Are you serious? How can that bounce? Yeah, it was the back of the turret. The turret's angled and rounded, but really, the back of a VK turret. And then there's other things, like when you're shooting into the track of tanks. Sometimes it just... You keep it tracked, but you don't do any damage. That's down to the lack of penetration. And here's an important thing, on a slight tangent. I was very excited for this and the Chieftain, so my expectations were pretty high. Yet, I was happy with the Chieftain. Now, when your expectations are high of something and then you eventually meet it, it tends to not be what you want, or not what you expect. So you end up feeling slightly disappointed. What you can do... Chieftain, even though I was excited for it, it was exactly what I wanted. And it was exactly what I expected. It's going to be balanced in some way. This thing, though, I was expecting a really high rate of fire, a lower alpha, or just something a bit smaller, a bit more mobile. I don't know. I'm probably not making much sense right now, but it just... It's fun. It's a good tank, but from the same perspective, it just felt... meh. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, well, what does this bring me that a VK with 157mm of penetration doesn't? Or the T-37 with an extra 10mm of penetration? What can I get from getting hold of this other than its premium? And that made me feel a bit sad at that point, because this is... It's really fun tank, but yet it's kind of overshadowed by its competitors in many ways. And my instant thought was, well, why would I buy this if I've already got something which is pretty much like this in terms of a light tank? And that's the Cromwell B, with more DPM, way more penetration, better accuracy, ever so slightly worse aim time, way better gun depression. It's got a better power to weight ratio. How's that even possible? Sorry, that's funny. This is a light tank. Oh yeah, it's also got better armor. It's also got the same view range. So, if you've got a that's not normal, is it? But if you've got a Cromwell B, what can this thing give you which that can't? Except that thing, in my opinion, does it better. Oh, the other thing, by the way, this has 13mm of rear and side armor. So, pretty much every single caliber gun can penetrate you with HE. That Panther, the Panthers have a 75mm gun, and it has 20mm of HE penetration. It's nothing, is it? It can go through this thing all day long. Again, as a comparative, this has 13 on the sides and rear of the hull. The T-37 has 19 on the rear and 25 on the side. The T-21 has 30 on the rear, 40 on the side. The VK has 40 on the rear, 40 on the side. Yeah. This thing's the worst by a long shot. I say the worst, it's the worst in terms of armor. The gun, it's got the worst penetration. It doesn't bring anything new. It's not a bad tank. It pretty much falls into the category of tier 6 light tanks. I say the categories because they're all very, very similar. The VK, though, that's been nerfed, and I still think the VK's better. And if you've got a Cromwell B, why do you want this? It doesn't bring anything new. I could do that, what I just did there, in a Cromwell. in fact could have done it quicker because I wouldn't have bounced any shots because I got more penetration. I wouldn't have bounced that one. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad tank. It's not. It's actually a very fun little tank. The point I'm trying to get across is it doesn't bring me anything new which makes me think, yay, this is a barrel of laughs. So for that reason, I wouldn't spend money on this thing. If this is one of those tanks which you could grind to, I'd be happy if I got the tank. It's a free tank at the end of the day then. But in terms of buying this thing, I wouldn't buy it myself. Again, it's only personal preference, but I've got a Cromwell B, and it performs in every single area just that bit better. I think the only thing this outdoes the Cromwell is acceleration. I mean, yeah, it's got a higher top speed, but you'll hit this thing up to 60, 70 sometimes. What's the Cromwell B's top speed? 64. So this thing, 72 tops, and it accelerates that little bit quicker. And that's only because of the terrain resistances. So I'm probably going to get flack for this video, because I know a lot of people are excited for this, and I was very excited for this tank. Like I said, I'd known it for a tank to be very high rate of fire, very good fun. On console and on PC, it has 128mm of penetration, and then 115 damage. I would have rathered less damage with this thing and a much higher rate of fire. That's the way I've always known this tank, and in fact, if they did do that with this tank, it would have had its niche. It would have been unique amongst the light tanks at tier 6. It's not an autoload like the MT25 or the AMX-12T. It's not a 160 Alpha like the VK or the T21. The T37 is an autoloader, but it's like a happy hybrid, that is. This thing, if they gave it like a nice penetration with a good rate of fire and lower damage per shot, I would have much preferred that myself. Sounds like I'm being ridiculously harsh on this tank right now. I kind of am, aren't I? I just wouldn't buy it for the reasons I've explained. I wouldn't put my money onto it. I'm a tank collector, may I point out, and I'm going to push to try and get this tank free. But I probably won't buy it, because when it comes to selecting my tier 6 that I fancy going to troll people in, I'm going to pick other ones over this. I'm talking like 6 months down the line. You know, when you're like 6 months down the line, you haven't had a new tank in a tier, and you're going through what premium tanks you've got in your garage, and you go, I'm going to have a go on that one. This isn't going to be one of those. But again, to confirm, I am not saying it's a bad tank. I just think there are tanks out there which can do a better job of the same task. And of course, this is my opinion, and other people will form different opinions to this. I don't know, I enjoyed playing this tank. I'm not saying I didn't. I just felt, well, like I said earlier, just meh. It's not even a word. It's a noise. It's like a meh. It's alright. It's nothing new. And for that, I feel slightly disappointed. Because I was excited for this tank. Like I said, low damage, very high rate of fire. So I'm hoping somehow I can grind or earn this tank for free, because I'd like it in my garage, but I'm not willing to pay for it in my garage. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I hope you can also appreciate my honesty. I will always try and be honest with every tank I can, whether it be good or bad, in between, or just going through the pros and the cons. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.